Airport traffic patterns ensure that air traffic moves into and out of an airport safely. Here's a standard rectangular traffic pattern. The traffic pattern altitude is usually 1,000 feet above the elevation of the airport surface. The use of common altitudes at a given airport is the key factor in minimizing the risk of collisions at airports without operating control towers. The traffic pattern is normally entered at a 45-degree angle to the downwind leg, headed toward a point abeam the midway of the runway to be used for landing. The pilot should ensure that the entry leg is of sufficient length to provide a clear view of the entire traffic pattern and to allow adequate time for planning the intended path in the pattern and the landing approach. Entries into the traffic patterns while descending create specific collision hazards and should be avoided. The downwind leg is a course flown parallel to the landing runway, but in the opposite direction to the intended landing direction. This leg is flown approximately half a mile to 1 mile out from the landing runway and at a specific traffic pattern altitude. When flying on the downwind leg, the pilot should complete all before landing checklists and extend the landing gear if the airplane is equipped with retractable landing gear. Pattern altitude is maintained until at least abeam the approach end of the landing runway. At this point, the pilot should reduce power and begin a descent. The pilot should continue the downwind leg past a point abeam the approach end of the runway to a point approximately 45 degrees from the approach end of the runway and make a medium bank turn onto the base leg. The base leg is the transitional part of the traffic pattern between the downwind leg and the final approach leg. Depending on wind conditions, the pilot should establish the base leg at a sufficient distance from the approach end of the landing runway to permit a gradual descent into the intended touchdown point. The final approach leg is a descending flight path starting from the completion of the base to final turn and extending to the point of touchdown. This is probably the most important leg of the entire pattern because of the sound judgment and precision needed to accurately control the airspeed and descent angle while approaching the intended touchdown point. Flying the pattern in flight sim economy, especially for new pilots, is easier and will save a pilot more time than trying to fly straight into the runway. You don't have to be a real pilot to have an exciting and enjoyable career in flight sim economy. But understanding the procedures and flying the simulator correctly is actually much less stressful and much less time consuming than trying to land on a wing and a prayer.